I-team investigation, months in the making, out of state, out of mind. While 75% of people living in the capital city are renters, many of their landlords don't have a Connecticut address.
And Chief Investigative Reporter Sam Smake explains why tenants feel that makes it easier for landlords to disappear. Sam.
In just about half an hour, dozens of tenants will be meeting with the city council and the mayor to continue their conversations about what they call unsafe living conditions. They also want to talk about why they feel landlords and property managers are ignoring their problems, yet raising the rent. At 105 Sherbrooke Avenue in Hartford, tenants say you'll find blood on the walls, an apartment door the tenant lined with duct tape to prevent roaches from coming in, jars of urine in the hallway. Jarased Meinhofer says this homeless man sleeps in the hallway in front of her door every night. It's the landlord's responsibility to provide locked entrances.
I don't feel safe there. I don't feel like my kids are safe there.
She also spends her own money on cleaning supplies, routinely cleaning common areas that are dirty, which is the landlord's responsibility.
It falls on us tenants that care, to clean the building.
Jason Aviles is speaking on behalf of his mother. She's lived in the building for more than 5 years, paying $1,000 a month.
Garbage thrown to the side, no security.
She has trouble getting up to her 4th floor apartment because of the broken elevator. She struggles to make it up the stairways, which she says are not just dirty, but unsafe.
When she mentions the problems to the landlord, his answer, the company's answer is just move out.
Their words mirror those of other tenants across the city, tenants who spoke in front of City Council in October, bringing the same concerns.
No more roaches, no more rats! We want you to work for us!
Tenants who say they feel property managers and landlords do not care. Tenants are told to reach out to the property management companies hired by landlords with any issues that need fixing.
We tried to call, no answers. After I signed my lease, I never saw someone from that office.
I sent emails. They said they didn't receive it.
The tenants we spoke with say they don't even know who their landlords, the owners of the building, are. In many cases, the owners live out of state. The landlords are the ones who ultimately have the responsibility to fix their properties. A spokesperson for Hartford's housing department said they do not have the number of out-of-state landlords readily available. A records search shows 12,000 homes and apartments in the city have owners with out-of-state mailing addresses.
Did you know who the owner of the building was at all?
No. We never got to meet anyone. It was just the people who had us sign the lease.
Michael Cohen owns 105 Sherbrooke Avenue. His address with the state lists his main office in New Jersey. More than 100 housing inspections in the past 2 years have been done on his properties. He's paid around $8,000 in fines for health and safety violations. He still owes $8,000 more. In September, Cohen sold 27 of the 28 apartment buildings he owned in the city for $59 million. He sold 762 units to a New Yorker named Dunn Surlowitz. He kept ownership of 105 Sherbrooke.
Do you think being out of state, out of mind?
I think so. I think it's more so as long as I have money in my pockets, as long as I'm getting, the benefits, to hell with everything.
While the city says Mr. Surlowitz is working to improve all the properties and is very responsive, the tenants we spoke with say the first thing that happened under the new ownership was an increase in their rent. They feel the buildings are being improved to push them out.
I was supposed to originally pay $775. Then the rent got increased to $900, and they're forcing us to actually sign leases with them. If we don't, we will have to pay $900 a month, plus an additional $200 every month on top of that.
Hello, and thank you for calling Maple Management.
For months, the I-team has tried to track both owners down to address the allegations. To find them, we started with their property management companies here in Connecticut. After being told no one at either company would speak to us, we took the next step. Cohen's office suite in New Jersey is part of a shopping center.
The sign for Suite 3 is taken out.
We found him on the 2nd floor. We were told by an office representative he wasn't there and there was no way to reach him.
I'm looking for Michael Cohen.
Then we headed to New York to Surlowitz's company address.
Hello?
We found an empty office in a suite upstairs despite the lights being on and computers running. If it's hard for us.
Can the city make owners more accessible to tenants?
Well, I think the owners have a responsibility to identify themselves to their tenants. If they haven't done that and we have the information, we share it with the tenants.
We also asked Judith Rothschild, the Director of Housing Code Enforcement and Blight Remediation for the City of Hartford, about the property management companies. City law doesn't allow code enforcement to fine them or even take them to court, only the owners.
If the owner of the property has a management company that's insufficient, then they're going to have to pay the price for that.
But Rothschild said she wants tenants to trust that the city is making sure owners know what they need to do. Cohen has been ordered to fix the elevator at 105 Sherbrooke. He's appealing the decision. Code enforcement did say they were told parts for the elevator are on back order.
It feels like nothing's getting done. The process can take a while, and that's just, unfortunately, sometimes what we are stuck with because we're obligated to follow legal process.
Rothschild said the rental licensing program is the answer to landlord problems. The city right now is going through the process of licensing all rental properties, a process that will require each property go through a rigorous inspection process. So far, only 12 properties have been inspected. Properties belonging to Cohen or Serlowitz are not one of them.
The change of the quality of life is the goal here. Nobody should be living in a condition that's not safe and sanitary.
I'm paying my rent. I'm doing my job. They should do theirs.
How does the rental licensing program work, and how can enforcement against landlords be made quicker? We'll have more on my conversation with code enforcement tomorrow, and I'll be back at 11 p.m. tonight to talk about what happened at this meeting. For now, reporting live in Hartford, I'm Sam Smink.
From throughout Hartford met with city officials to talk about making their living situations better.
Many of the renters say they've been battling problems within their apartments for years, and they feel landlords and property management companies are getting away with it.
Our chief investigative reporter Sam Smink has been looking into this issue for months and has more tonight from a meeting.
Tenants not only shared their horror stories, they had a list of demands. The mayor and city council also came tonight with some solutions.
Tonight, members of the Avalon, Maple, and Weathersfield tenant unions told city council members, Mayor Luke Bronin, and housing officials what it's like to live like them.
You come into dirty hallways, they smell so bad because you have people defecating in the hallway.
I have cracked walls, I got roaches, I got mice, I got it all.
This meeting is part of a continuing conversation between the unions and the city. Tenants have long felt their complaints to the city go nowhere, and their landlords, many of them from out of state, don't have to answer for the problems.
The landlord waits and pushes everyone out, and hopefully when the residents leave the building, the complaint dies when they leave.
Tenants also made demands that include code enforcement inspecting the entire building at one time, not just individual units, since many of the tenants say they experience the same problems. They also asked for more timely updates about where their complaints stand and more fair rent commission hearings. Mayor Luke Bronin addressed the crowd, thanking them for their fair and reasonable demands. He introduced all of the city housing officials and followed with a promise.
They are working hard to change the pattern that you described, but I know why you are frustrated and impatient, and you have every right to be.
Bronin told the tenants $1 million has been set aside to create a city repair fund. The fund would allow the city to come in and fix repairs right away. Landlords will then pay the city back. He also said code enforcement would do group inspections, and the Fair Rent Commission will also increase their number of meetings, among other things. Tenants say it's a start.
Make the landlord more liable for their incompetence.
A lot of the issues tenants brought up tonight, I actually spoke about those same issues with the code enforcement director last week. We'll have more of our conversation with her tomorrow. Reporting in Hartford, Sam Smink, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Investigation. The Hartford City Council is reacting to our investigation into out-of-state landlords and the unsafe conditions tenants say they're living in. Our chief investigative reporter Sam Smink joining us with some new information tonight. Sam.
We first told you earlier the city of Hartford has now put aside $1 million for a city repair fund to help tenants who say they're living in unsafe conditions. The fund would allow the city to make repairs themselves, then bill the landlord for the work. City Councilman TJ Clark II tells me the city can do more.
Those stories are horrible. They're very heartbreaking.
Hartford City Council Majority Leader TJ Clark II is reacting to the horror stories tenants shared with the I-Team and again with city officials last night.
I have cracked walls, I got roaches, I got mice, I got it all.
In many cases, these tenants don't know their landlords who live out of state. He says the city council is discussing new ways to increase penalties on landlords who refuse to fix their properties, including revoking their tax break agreements with the city.
I am just very much frustrated.
I know enforcement can make a difference in the lives of people.
We went to Judith Rothschild, the director of Housing Code Enforcement, to ask about current penalties. When tenants make a complaint to the city sends an inspector out. If the inspector finds something, the landlord is given a notice of violation, and they have between 21 to 60 days to correct the problem. 5 days if it's a health and safety issue. Now, if the landlord doesn't fix the violation in time, he receives a citation and can be fined up to $7,500 per violation. Get enough fines, and the city can put a lien on the property. The city has filed liens against 51 property owners since September 2020, totaling more than $524,000. Only $25,000 has been paid off.
Generally, it doesn't get paid until the owner sells the property.
It seems like that's a lot of money lying on the table.
It's lying on the table, but the only other way to enforce it, if the liens are high enough, is a foreclosure action by the city.
Which could hurt tenants unnecessarily, says Rothschild. Recently, some problem properties were sold to a new landlord. While the city says that landlord is working to improve them, tenants say he's only fixing up the apartments to raise the rent. Councilman Clark says he feels that's a loophole city officials need to close.
How you do business in other states, in other cities outside of Connecticut is not what Hartford is expecting of you.
Tenants can withhold rent, but they have to file court action to do so. In the new year, the code enforcement team will be increasing their number to 13 inspectors. The city is also going through the process of licensing all rental properties right now. For the I-Team, I'm Sam Smink.
Information now on a story the I-Team has followed for months. City leaders in Hartford want tenants fighting for better living conditions to know they are being heard. And today the mayor announced nearly $2 million to fund programs they say will improve rental housing conditions. Our chief investigative reporter Sam Smink is joining us tonight with more on today's developments. Sam.
Aaron, Mayor Luke Bronin wants tenants struggling in the city to know this is only the beginning. He says the council is determined to make your living situations better, and it's never been as important as it is now.
To provide a space that's worthy of the tenants who live there.
That's the goal Mayor Luke Bronin said he and the city council are working toward. For months, they've heard tenants tell them about living in dirty and sometimes dangerous apartment buildings.
We have some buildings where the conditions are atrocious.
Now those tenants are seeing some action, though they wish it came sooner.
And it took a long time to even get here.
First, the city plans to hire 2 new housing inspectors and 2 new administrative assistants to help with code enforcement. A $1 million emergency assistance fund has also been created, which will allow the city to get in and do repair work themselves.
This will be for the worst situations, particularly where there are families with children or seniors or those who are disabled living in housing conditions that represent a threat to their health or safety of such severity that we might otherwise close that building down.
The landlord will pay back the repair costs in their next city tax bill. But one tenant who did not want to share her name for fear of retaliation did want city officials to be aware that the costs may still trickle down to them.
They're gonna try to raise their rent to cover those expenses too. That's what's been happening.
Finally, the city announced $750,000 over the next 3 years will go to Greater Hartford Legal Aid to provide free legal assistance to residents.
This funding will enable us to not only provide individual representation to city residents in housing condition cases, but also through those cases to identify systemic advocacy that's needed to improve the overall system and outcomes.
The Connecticut Tenants Union says some of the money should be used to increase legal aid staff. Advocates also say some city residents don't qualify because of their zip code, so the city needs to look at that. For now, city officials want tenants to know they were heard, and it's only the start.
Continue to advocate, continue to make the phone calls, and continue to persevere and make us and hold us accountable.
Mayor Bronin says the city will also start looking into criminal prosecution for negligent landlords who ignore repeated requests. He also says more announcements would be coming in the next few months. For the I-Team, I'm Sam Smink, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.